better as a result of social media presence.
If it doesn't do those three things, then it's on the chopping block.
It's a return on investment discussion.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Daily Dealer Live. I'm your host Sam Dark, and welcome to this space where automotive comes together to learn, to share, to grow, to execute. Thanks for choosing to be here this Monday, November 24th, and happy Thanksgiving week, everyone. And happy Thanksgiving week also brings us into happy Black Friday week. It's going to be a big week in automotive, but first, before we go into that, let's dive into today's industry headlines. First up today, Ford is recalling about 230,000 Broncos and Bronco Sports because the digital cluster can boot up completely blank. The problem? Well, it's software, but so far no injuries reported. The fix is an over-the-air update or a quick dealer visit. Meanwhile, Hyundai and Kia are recalling roughly 335,000 Sonatas and K5s with a shared 1.6-liter turbo engine. It's a bad check valve. Can let pressure build in the fuel tank and cause it to deform or leak. The issue traces back to the same supplier, and while both brands say only about 1% of vehicles are affected, fuel leaks are a fire risk, so this one's getting handled fast. As always, dealers will inspect and fix or replace the faulty parts for free. To see more recalls, head over to the CDG Recall Tracker, powered by BusyCar at cdgrecalls.com. Next up today, new vehicle sales are set to fall in November, not because demand is collapsing, but because thousands of buyers pulled ahead their purchases before EV tax credits expired at the end of September. J.D. Power expects total sales to land around 1.26 million units. That's down about 5% from last year, with the SAAR drifting to 15.4 million. That's a full million units below last November's pace. And EV sales saw the biggest whiplash. The pre-expiration rush inflated Q3 and early Q4 numbers, leaving November looking softer than it really is. Incentives are creeping up, but not wildly, averaging just over $3,200. While affordability remains the real drag, the average monthly payment is now, get this, $760. That's a record for November. Big picture here, with the tax credit boost gone, the market is settling back into a slower, more normal rhythm where ICE trucks, SUVs, and hybrids carry the load, and dealers have to work harder on that mix, on that pricing, and on that deal structure to keep volumes steady. Next up today, First Brands Group, the major U.S. auto parts supplier already in bankruptcy, is now suing its founder and former CEO, alleging he, quote, fraudulently secured billions in financing and siphoned company money for personal use. The lawsuit claims Patrick James misrepresented First Brands' financial health to raise huge sums, then diverted hundreds of millions, potentially more, to himself, his trust, and related entities while the company collapsed under the $11+ billion in liabilities. By the time First Brands filed for bankruptcy in September, the suit says the company only had about $12 million in cash left in the bank, despite once generating roughly $5 billion in annual sales. The legal action comes as the restructuring team tries to stabilize operations with more than $1.1 billion in court-approved financing, and as a federal judge launches an independent $7 million investigation into the alleged fraud. Bottom line here, well, these moves will determine how much money creditors can recover, who's held responsible, and whether First Brands can realistically reorganize or if it becomes just another case study in corporate oversight gone wrong. And finally, up today, Sewell Automotive Companies is expanding again, and an update from cdjbuysell.com makes us happy. Acquiring Land Rover Byrne from Schottenkirk Automotive Group in a deal that closed November 17th and included the store's real estate. This gives Sewell its third dealership in the San Antonio market and second Land Rover point, strengthening the family-owned group's footprint in Texas's growing luxury segment. Schottenkirk, which operates 30 stores across 7 states, says the sale is part of a broader strategic shift as it reallocates focus elsewhere in its portfolio. In a statement, President Greg Schottenkirk said the group is confident the store and its employees have a great future under Sewell, which now represents 12 brands across 12 dealerships statewide. Big picture here, while Texas remains one of the hottest buy-sell markets in the country, and deals like this show that top groups are still eager to plant deeper roots where population, income growth, and luxury demand remain strong. And, as always, Don't forget, you can see this deal announcement and many more throughout the entire year live by visiting the CDG Buy-Sell Tracker at You got that right, cdgbuysell.com. And that is a wrap on today's industry news. Yuli, welcome back.
Happy to be here. Would you believe it's me
Monday.
singing that in the background?
Yes, I could believe that. Yes, absolutely. And a big, huge hello to all of our listening audience. We got a ton of activity on social already, Yuli. Good morning from Tracy Honda in California, and a happy Monday to everyone, says Deals with DOM. We've also got Jonathan Gamble watching on YouTube. Let's go. Hannah from Nashville, Tennessee coming in at it. And so much happening in marketing, especially in subprime lending. We'll have a lot of conversations on that and more. We want to know where you're coming to us from. We may have over the next couple shows, particularly during the holiday week, some exciting and different destinations where people are coming from, and or they're doubling down efforts inside the retail stores to gear up for a massive Black Friday, because this Black Friday is going to be awesome. Yes, Yuli? So
Agreed.
We've got that to look forward to. So post into the comments. We'll get you into today's show. It'll change the trajectory of today's show. And first up, let's go. By the way, you still have your mustache, Yuli. But first up, we go to another mustache. Eric Barbosa, VP Variable Ops at Cavender Auto Group. Greetings.
Hey, Eric. Yeah, it's till December 1st. December 1st, we keep it.
Mine will be permanent for a while.
Okay. All right.
you
You're
guys
going
doing?
the duration of the winter. Good. Welcome back. You've been on the show before, so we're pumped to have you back. We're going to ask you the question we ask everybody to start out. How's biz, Eric? And tell our audience a little bit about you as part of that.
Okay, well, let's start. VP of Variable Operations for Cavender Auto Group. We're based out of San Antonio.
Yep.
Family owned, 87 years plus, fourth generation, and we have domestics, imports, and luxury brands. Business right now is to me, it's steady. It's not declining. I just saw some metrics you just said there that new car sales is down. For us, it's probably flat. We're hoping that we catch up this final week, as we usually do in our history. And used cars is again steady as well for us.
Yeah. That's so. It's interesting. November sometimes feels a little slower in the beginning, and then to your point, you go through the holidays and it just speeds up. Some thought is, will EV pull back a little bit because it pulled so far ahead? But I think that's usually a fear that's not realized. Any thoughts on that, Eric, as we approach the big holiday weekend?
Yeah, and I think it's preparation and strategy. If you have them, you have to figure out how to sell them, and if you don't, then and you have a demand, you got to get them. So it's all planning, and yeah, we felt a little bit of it last month after it ended, but again, another flat item for us that we're just steady on.
Yeah. So, hey, last time you were on the show, we had a lengthy conversation on org structure and all things that you would call EOS, right? So how the organization looks, how it operates, what are your systems and processes? And you, in the green room, told us you've had some internal conversations and discussions about that, and you've actually done quite a bit of work on EOS as we approach the end of the year. Tell us a little bit about that and what prompted it.
I think maybe the context is when you guys asked me, or I think Yossi may have asked me, and I had no idea what it meant. And I kind of pitched it back to Rob Cavender because I know it's something that he was learning as part of the Vistage group that we belong to. Well, now starting to know everything about EOS. We're implementing in our stores, executive management, structure, leadership. It's having a big benefit to us as a management staff, to be honest with you.
What's one component of that EOS structure you've put in place, and how has it benefited you short term?
I think the accountability chart, not organizational chart, two differences, and then the simplification. At our level, we look at a lot of reports, a lot of KPIs, which I like, but when it makes it down to the bottom, they don't need that. They need simplicity, things that they can work in, and it's not difficult to find or do. So that's right now the biggest thing for us.
So what's one or two of the most simple KPIs that you want to make sure reaches the end user in the sales floor and the BDC and service that really adds jet fuel to what you're doing at Cavender?
I think customer experience and how we communicate. Like, we're learning a lot about communications. I think you guys did something recently on phone calls and the drops of phone calls. We're digging into that. Yeah, it's huge. And we need to fix that. One thing we had these 50, 20, 10s, 2s, and 1s, which was a little bit controversial on LinkedIn of the activities that salespeople do.
Yeah.
We set that back. We sent surveys out to our people of what was impactful, and then we adjusted. And now we're literally, doesn't change our whole structure, but impacting connected calls, appointments, sold, videos at a better scale than just saying, hey, go do a bunch of phone calls. So it's stuff like that that's impactful.
Yeah. We always love the video piece. So everybody's using it. Everybody's got a different one. Who are you using to put videos out into the world, both for sales and service?
For sales, it's true drive centric. We do videos, vehicle of interest, and that's simple. And then right now I want to say they just switched to, I forget, it starts with an N and I forget the product that they're using.
That's all right.
And we just Numa.
Numa. Yeah. Voice AI.
That's right.
So what prompted the switch to Numa with the
Next
voice AI? Was it the stat that CDK just came out with talking about average hold time for service? Is that it's not 10 minutes, but it's approaching that, right?
Yes, and it's our new fixed ops platform VP, Todd Flowers, who did a good job. He just trying to be more efficient, communicate with the customers, follow up with the customers, because that drive does get busy. And just to reiterate, X time for the videos, Numa for the communication, and that's helped out a lot. So, and we went through a couple of demos, and it took us probably a year, and then Todd really pushed the initiative, and we're having really good results from it.
Yeah. Any pushback on the voice component where people are like, hey, I'm talking to AI. I don't want to talk to AI, or has it been embraced in a way that's interesting to you?
I think the staff is embracing it, but we're still having some issues with maybe the customers embracing it. And we're going through that now, and I think we've kind of figured it out. So
cool. Okay. So, hey, it's interesting. Used car prices are kind of stabilizing right now, but days supply is creeping up nationwide. How are you coaching your teams to win in this affordability strained marketplace in used cars? What are you doing on supply?
We're trying to shift. That's a big deal for our next quarter, is our buy center service acquisitions, which we do an okay job, but I think the team's underperforming. We just implemented a new tool. We're trying to avoid auctions and just really do a better appraisal process with the customer so we can keep more of the cars that are coming in. That's really the strategy, and keep them focused on, you're going to pay more for that car if you go to auction. Why wouldn't we give it to the customer while they're here or in the service drive?
Yeah. You said you implemented a new tool. We always love that. What'd you implement, and is it working?
It is, and it's a brainchild of our CEO, Rob Cavender. It's called Cavender Comparison, and we use Axle's the tool that we use to run through it. Basically, when the customer goes to the drive, they get a text. That text will give them a comparison offer of a current vehicle, whatever they're driving. Let's say it's a Sierra, and a comparison offer to trade out of it, or a purchase offer. And also gives them an anticipated future value to entice that conversation in the drive.
Ooh,
so,
okay.
Yeah. Love to show it to you at some point.
Did you see our episode with Ben Stock a couple weeks ago where he announced kind of that collaboration between three companies and how they're working together to do that? Yeah, VinQ, and it was Impel, VinQ, and Spine, I think, were the three companies. And they're all working together to deliver a more seamless trade appraisal process in service.
Yeah. Actually, Ben Stock was the reason we flew out to New York probably almost 3 years ago to see what they were doing in that service drive, and it was phenomenal what they were doing 3 years ago. So I can't imagine what he's trying to do now.
Yeah.
But yeah, he kind of set that path for us.
Yeah, it sounds very similar to what you're doing there. So you've talked openly about being super aggressive on inventory turn. What specific processes or metrics does your team use today that more dealers should be paying attention to as it relates to used car inventory turn? Well, new or used, right?
We have so many different KPIs. We look at it all the time. We use every tool vAuto has to offer, and we're not perfect at it. But the thing we do is communicate. Make sure the GMs, the GSMs, and the used car directors or managers that you have all are aware. Our SOPs, enforcing them, extremely important. Make sure that we're pricing right from the get-go. That helps. But nothing that we don't already know. That's common sense. You have to pay attention and focus on it.
You're getting a ton of comments online. So Jay Schindler Decker says, FE, Eric is the best. Been a long time. Dave T. Rogers says, tell Todd Flowers I said hello. Yoga cars. Great question, by the way, yoga cars. What's the number you're putting on service drive cars? Low ball, start at the right number. Or I would add, are you okay overpaying for some of those used cars in the service drive?
I would overpay if I could on every one of them and get them in. You're going to overpay
Yeah.
at the auction. Might as well give it to your customer. And we try to get as close to 100% on some, and it's from 95 to 100%. So those customers, you got to remember, you're bringing them into a market. They're not in market, and you
Right,
got to
yeah.
give them a reason to get in market.
Yeah. And then Gamble says the goatee is good looking. You got props on your goatee. Yuli, you need to switch to the goatee next. And Gamma also says Tempe, Arizona is where he's coming from. So lead to appointment to show rates are dropping industry wide. That's a stat. What's working today in salespeople development that isn't the same as a couple of years ago to increase that show rate? That I'm going to make an appointment. I'll walk through that door so you get the opportunity to make a customer out of me.
I think the most important is getting good leads, quality leads, making sure the message is right and that you're funneling the customer through the experience they want to. That'll
Yeah.
shoot up. If not, you're going to have all that stuff go the wrong way. So I
Yeah.
think that's important.
So who are your best? We ask this question a lot, makes some people nervous, but we're curious about it anyway. Who are your best lead providers right now in your marketplace? And I know you've got a pretty diverse market.
I mean, some of the third party, I know that's a bad word, but for
Yeah.
some, I think they're still very beneficial.
Yeah.
We want to drive our own traffic to the website, and it's got to be the website. And then we're building, hopefully, here in the next quarter, a simpler process for them to convert, because that's the biggest deal. But the website right now is our best lead provider.
Yeah. Very good. So you're a JLR dealer, flipping a little bit to inventory and challenges. They've had some struggles over the past few months with the outages and whatnot. How are you adjusting and pivoting in that environment to win at JLR?
It's a tough one. The GM that we have and the team that's there is doing a good job. We're going aggressively over the used car market for that store until we figure out the new car. And then you just talked about a big competitor. They're right down maybe 10 miles from us. Sewell just bought that Bernie store, so that's something that we're going to have to pay attention, because they're going to level the standard, or they're going to raise the standard that is in that market for JLR. They're a very great company. How Sewell does it. So we got a lot of things right now JLR wise that we're working on, but the operator that we have has a good strategy, good plan. And I mean, we can't control the inventory part, and they were shut down for, I think,
Long time.
2.5 months. Yeah.
What do you make of the Sewell acquisition? Is this one of the first of many near you? Or, I mean, they continue to grow. They're an enormous, well-respected auto group.
They are.
It's a good thing, bad thing.
It's to us probably a great thing. It's just going to raise our level of awareness, which should have been there already, but they're a great competitor, great organization. And anything that can raise the bar for us as, outside or internal is a good thing.
Yeah. So you mentioned service drive acquisition, providing values on vehicles in the service drive. You've got Ford. Ford's the number one most recalled OEM this year.
Yeah.
That changes and ebbs and flows. Hasn't always been. It won't always continue to be. How are you winning in that recall environment in Ford in how you either engage with customers or with the OEM? What's your take on the Ford deal?
Again, that team also is doing well with that. The thing with our Ford store, it's one of the biggest by the location, the facility in the state of Texas. But before it was a heavy fleet. So we're a year of growing that other business in the retail side of it. And they do a good job. It's just communicating ahead of time, getting them in. Right now, we don't have a wait time because we're a new facility with 65 bays, I believe.
Wow.
And they're taking a proactive approach to bring the business in.
That's awesome.
That's massive.
That's massive. Yeah. All right. So last couple of questions here. Thinking about your tech stack, because you've been so proactive at building technology and tools to help deliver your best to your customers. In your tech stack, what tools do you think are really core to sales and delivering your best to the customer? And is there one or two you'd rip out today as just not being as efficient or effective?
I wish I can show you this, but I just went over that tech stack there.
I love that.
We got to get more efficient. There's just too many, we broke down per role. This is part of that L10 or the EOS system of how many systems we have in place for systems. So we're trying to get more efficient. But right now, one that I personally like, I think our team likes for customer experience is the zip deal. And probably some of our reporting, DriveCentric, the CRM tool, I think it's the best out there. But we do have a lot of plugins, and we need to get a little bit more efficient of all this tech stack. Make sure it's streamlined for the customer, because even for the employee, it gets confusing. They have 10 different logins. So something we're dealing with right now.
What's your process to analyze, kind of get a sense of what works, what doesn't, and then figure out what to kick to the curb quickly? Because to your point, Eric, there's so many tools out there. It's mind numbing, right? It could be a full-time job. Eric Barbosa could do nothing else but look at tech stack and make decisions on that. And it would be a full-time job times 2.
And I don't want to. So, and what I mean by that, it's in store. We go in store and we ask the end users that are actually using it if it's beneficial, and then we kind of go through that process, get feedback from the associate, from the sales manager or used car manager, service manager, and then the GMs at the store, and then try to build from there. And we're currently doing that because, I mean, I think, we all have been in NADA and all these other conferences. We come back with a bunch of stuff we want to plug in because it's great, and then we're not prepared for it at the store. And I think you need to get the feedback and buy-in from the people that are actually using the product. That's number one.
Yeah, I love it. Jay Schindeldecker says, love the good old-fashioned whiteboard. And by the way, I think most dealerships, as tech-driven as we've become, still have that old-fashioned whiteboard. There's something about focusing your attention down to that one thing. So last question. If a dealer were considering making one change in variable ops as we get towards the end of 2025 that would help propel them to an awesome 2026, what would that one thing be from your perspective that most are missing, Eric?
Simplify the processes.
Yeah.
All of them. Yeah. Simplify it, make it easy and customer-centric from the beginning.
Yeah. Love it.
Real quick, because
go ahead.
That's prompting what you had said earlier. You said you simplified we called them quarter times. So what do you call them internally? And then what did you bring them to? Like, what's your current quarter times?
They were 12, 2, 4, and 6. And every store stops. They bring the sales staff in, and then they would go through 50 calls, 20 emails or texts, 10 social media posts, 2 appointments, and sell a car. We sent a survey out of what the team wanted to see from those quarter times. And, I'm very, very transparent. It wasn't they weren't loving it as much. I thought they were loving it. So we broke it down to the activities that have results, which is connected calls, the videos sent, to-do task or overdue, whatever the CRM may call it, work plan. Set in appointments, their proposals, and sell a car. And then these are coaching items that now the team leads do and not the salespeople do. But I think it's important to have the sales associate connect with their sales managers at least 3 times on those specific items, and then simplify it,
And when you're saying connected calls, we're obviously talking about connecting to a customer and having meaningful conversation. Or are you talking about connected calls in the CRM as in like a recorded call so you can verify?
A recorded call that's happened. Because, we were pitching do 50 calls. Well, that's great. They can do 50 calls and only connect with one person.
Right.
So we want to know what they're connecting with, and then we'll go from there. And if somebody's got really low connections, there's a coaching opportunity.
For sure.
Yoga Cars pipes in, dealer groups should have their own platform and have APIs into other tech if there's proprietary product that they can leverage. That's a cool vision of the future, right, Eric? And Gamble comes in and says, Yoga Cars, I agree. So Eric Barbosa, VP Variable Ops, Cavender Auto Group, we appreciate you being on the show today and being back. This is your repeat appearance here on Daily Dealer Live. Thanks for sharing your perspectives.
Appreciate it. You guys have a happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, same to you. Thank you. That's pretty cool. So he came on, had kind of this thought process on leadership reorg, accountability reorg, went back and executed very quickly on it. They're starting to reap the rewards of some of that. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Very.
Well, let's talk Matador AI. Today's episode is brought to you by Matador.ai. Matador handles calls, texts, and follow-ups so your team never falls behind. More important, more appointments, less chaos. See the difference for yourself with a free demo at Matador.ai. You can also scan the QR code to our site there. You go into the show notes if you're listening to the podcast version of today's show. However you learn more about Matador, we appreciate Matador.ai for supporting great content on today's show, like the one we just had with Eric Barbosa. Huge props to him for coming on the show, and Matador for supporting it. Thank you. And, Yuli, we keep talking about this, but there are limited invites. We want to make sure everybody who wants to get in gets a chance to get in. It's the annual NADA party in Vegas, Thursday, February 5th. It's a big ticket. It's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. We'll all be there. So if you want to be considered for a formal invite, just hit the link in the show notes, request to join, and fill out a questionnaire. Of course, spots are limited. Can't have everyone there, but RSVP today. And we hope to see you in Vegas. So.
And I'll sing just like the jingle.
Oh, that's fun. You should. That'd be cool. All right, let's dive into next. What would you sing? There you go. There you go. That's what you'd sing? All right.
Of course.
You know what we need to do is the next M&A activity. We need to have you sing the M&A song. We got to have that for buy-sell activity. So we'll do that. So, all right, next up, let's turn to David Steinberg, CEO and founder of Foureyes. David, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Yuli. I'm looking forward to hearing your singing voice more.
You'll regret that, but I will indulge you.
It's a plan. It's a plan. Well, David, tell us how's biz, and tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do in the world.
Business is great. It's a really exciting time. I'm CEO, founder of Foureyes. We are unveiling our new platform at NADA, which is really, really exciting. I think there's a lot to pick up on the conversation you just had with Eric Cavender, or with Eric Barbosa from Cavender, but that so much of what he was talking about, he mentioned 4 different platforms that they're using to communicate with their customers.
It's frustrating.
And he mentioned that his job is to bring all that in and work on the client experience and the CX.
Yeah.
And you go, wow, there is a missing piece of architecture here because none of these platforms are working with each other. That when they've got their special platform that they build on this in the service lane, they have Numa, they have Drive Centric, they mentioned Zip Deals. The average dealer has 9 different platforms talking to consumers. And by the way, conversational AI is blowing up. So go out to NADA and that number is going to be 11 in 2026.
Yeah.
And none of these platforms communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And so the CX is going all over the place.
So what's the solution? How do you get them to connect and communicate with each other? Ben Stock brought us an example where he brought 3 CEOs together and said, look, I want you to innovate together. I want you to drop your defenses and work well together. That was one path, his path. What would you say?
I think the challenge with that path is that involves, one, a lot of bringing people together, a lot of management, and you have to have a lot of pull as a dealer group. And then those pipes between those vendors tend to break down over time because that is really enterprise software that needs to be built. What we're excited about bringing into automotive is a platform that is a well-defined platform outside of automotive, which is basically, people will call it a CDP, and I think CDP is so overused and so dangerous to label. But what we've done is we've created an organized platform that allows us to collect and connect all the information from every different vendor. If you think about it right now with conversational AI, you have 9 different vendors talking to your consumers. If you just go, hey, write everything to the CRM. One, the CRM is not equipped to accept all that communication. CRM can't store an email. CRM can't store records really well. It's not processing stuff. Yeah. So the job, and if you send it all to the CRM, you overload it with notes that the salesperson can't use it anymore.
Right.
And so the job is there's a book on every customer. And as conversational AI is going out and collecting information, maybe from Numa, maybe from another tool, the job is to update the book. And then the book writes the cliff notes to the CRM so that anybody who's picking up that deal can understand that. So one of the problems we've just been pulled into, we built months ago, we built this consent manager where we could see, because we're watching everything that's going on, we could see how many times people are having to opt out of communication from a dealer, 9 different times. And say, stop. And dealers are getting sued everywhere right now because of this. So we built a consent manager that takes in consent signals and publishes updates to every vendor so that vendors can follow the consent signals that are coming from other vendors that a dealer's using. So they're not having to unsubscribe 9 times. It's the same with communication. with communication, if you have a tool that goes out and gets great information from the consumer, that is your dealership's communication to build on top of. The bad institutional memory, where it's a bad experience, is when a salesperson then calls up and has no idea what was said or what was shared, and the customer has to repeat themselves. So what we're doing is a modern architecture that allows you to solve that problem, but then also allows you to easily connect new platforms. So Brian Benstock doesn't have to bring 3 CEOs of companies in and organize 3 different dev resource teams in order to accomplish anything. How do you make that really easy and integratable?
So you're developing this tool. It's not completely innovative in automotive. There are similar tools, or is this innovative? What makes your version of this aggregator of this customer book or customer story? What makes it unique to the industry today? And who will ultimately win in a highly competitive marketplace with different companies trying to do a similar thing?
I think one thing that's unique about what we're doing is that the industry, what happens when you have bad data plumbing, which automotive has had, where systems can't talk to each other, they're all over the place, is every vendor becomes a contractor. And so every vendor says, hey, just you bring me everything you do and I'll take care of everything.
Right. And that's a problem.
That's a problem.
Right?
The industry doesn't need more contractors. The industry needs more plumbers. And so our job is to enable connectivity. Our job is not to be the vendor that does everything for you, but to be the piping that enables you to use the vendors you want to use. And I think that is a unique perspective in automotive, that we're not trying to go, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. And oh, that's on our roadmap. We're going to take this away from you. It's how do we enable you to connect your data into places, and that when a vendor collects information, when a vendor collects consent, to allow everybody to work from the same playbook. But it's more plumbing and less contracting.
So this plumbing, so to speak, you've been testing or piloting this in advance of your NADA launch. How's it going in the test markets?
I mean, it's incredible because dealers now are seeing it more and more. And so like a lot of times, like it can be an easy sell when dealers see the access to the data and the hygiene and the level of sophistication we're bringing to piping data out of the DMS, the CRM, their inventory, their website, and making sense of it quickly. I mean, Eric made a joke on a call where on your last segment where he just said, "Oh, I can't do that. It's 10 different systems. I can't look at all of that data."
Right.
That right there is a problem, right? So.
Well, and that a human has to aggregate it all and make sense of it, right? When we have technology that could do that if it all plumbed together, to your point.
Yeah, I mean, we call it like collect and connect hell. That so many dealer groups are in what you call collect and connect hell, where data is only interesting sometimes. So when you say, "Oh, well, to do this report takes me 6 hours of time," and by the way, by the time it's done, I've got a ton of asterisks next to it because I can't remember how I pulled this information exactly, and so now I'm stuck in collect and connect hell. You got to get out of that, and I think that oftentimes when we show dealers the underlying data and the cleanliness and the bringing it all together, that right there is an aha moment for them. But now the next step is giving them a new connectivity that allows them to solve these over communication problems, really configure how vendors can work together to allow them to use the tech stack they want. And by the way, we're not even talking about the other fact that they're locked into automotive only tech stack. Why is everything in automotive $2,500 a month? Right. Like when there's software outside of automotive sometimes that does the same thing for $30 a month at the group level, not at the location level.
So this is coming out NADA. People can learn more about it. It's probably the first clients will get on it at NADA. So in advance of that, can we ask you some questions that we get a lot from our audience that I think people are, I myself, we're trying to solve for this right now in this month, in November, so we can have a great month. A lot of dealers complain they don't need more leads, they need better ones. And as an aggregator and one that engages with these leads, what does your data show regarding real shopper intent versus noise? How do I win the rest of November as it relates to leads?
Yeah, so typically, selling a car is 3 things. It's sales process, marketing, inventory. There's no such thing as a great dealer with bad sales process. So sales process is the bottom of the funnel. It's where you start when you look at stuff. I think that generally speaking, when we look at a dealer's performance, you can usually see sales process problems that are pretty easily addressable. It's just they've been sort of hiding in plain sight. I would say
such as what are the one or two biggest problems you see? Process.
Yes, the two biggest problems. One, batting order. Like you have a lot of times some of your lower performers getting the most at bats, and you go, oh, wait a second. They've been deemed a high performer because they sell a lot of cars, but it's because they get the volume of leads.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we give them is we say, based on their exact lead mix, this is what the average salesperson in the industry would do. This is what the 65th percentile in the industry would do. This is what the 75th. And so you start to see, wait a second, this guy that I thought was performing really well is actually just a middling performer. But I've got someone fourth in my bat who's getting the fourth most leads, who crushes it. I just didn't realize they were crushing it because I was judging them based on their total cars sold, not on their performance. So batting order matters. The other piece we see that trips up a lot of dealers is their BDC will basically be bottling up too much leads in the BDC. Not enough is going through the filter. And so when that happens, dealers oftentimes they don't realize it. And I can go into the technical reasons they don't realize it, but they don't realize it. And so when that happens, more marketing isn't going to get them out of it because 80% of their leads that they generate just get stuck in the BDC. And so
how do they get stuck in the BDC, David? And as a dealer operator, how could I find whether or not they're getting stuck? What does that mean?
Yeah, so like when we look at it, and you'll see, if I'm showing you examples, you'll see where like the no salesperson assigned. So they'll have the process of when they assign the salesperson. There's just a huge bottleneck of leads. Not all dealers, but a lot of dealers will have they'll have 600 leads right there where no salesperson's assigned. They're in the BDC. Meanwhile, their salespeople will have 40 or 50 leads each. Their salespeople crush it because they have such low volume. They can handle more volume. We've got 600 sitting right here. And when that happens, what happens? Your process starts breaking down. The BDC is not really getting a hold of people. They're not calling people when the right time is happening. They're not, you start to see lower performance. You start to see where, hey, we'd expect you to close these auto trader leads at 8.5%. You're closing them at 4%. What's going on? You start to see all of those sort of repercussions happen.
David, when you talk about that stop in BDC, there are some groups that say, hey, the notion of a BDC is kind of an old one. We're going to go straight to the salespeople, make them accountable to it. Do you agree with that? Would you defend the existence of a BDC, or do you think a more direct line approach is warranted today?
I think, again, this is where there's a key piece of information that dealers have been missing. Because dealers they're not currently collecting all of the different communication points they have with their consumer from the BDC, from the tools they're using, and bringing that in. They don't actually know what's working or what's not. They're still operating on their gut. And until we do that, we're operating on our gut. Yeah. We're all operating on our gut. So I think you have to bring it all in, and then you have to then look at it and go, now that we have the data, first step of making a decision is, am I collecting the right data? The answer on that question is no, they're not collecting the right data. So you can't pass go until you collect the right data.
And so that brings us back to the plumbing, right? And if we get the plumbing right, vis-a-vis this tool, we're going to be in a better place. So is there, you analyze through your company a ton of data, customer data, shopping behavior, shopping trends. Is there one, thinking about now to the end of the year, is there one really surprising shopper behavior trend that you've seen in the last 6 to 12 months that might be evolving or changing that dealers should be thinking about when they're engaging with that data and reaching out to customers?
I would answer. So I'm going to turn that question. I'm going to turn that question, do the inverse of that question, because I think that what we see so much is that one of the things we measure is what every salesperson and every dealership's close rate is by cohort of time. What's 0 to 3 days? What are they closing? What percentage of their leads? 0 to 3, 4 to 7, 8 to 14, 15 to 30. One of the really interesting things is if I go down, we're measuring over 45,000 salespeople. If I look at a salesperson who has what I would consider really good long-term close rate, days 4 to 30, they're closing significantly more than their industry average. And then we pick up the phone and call that salesperson. what you generally see is a slightly different process where they sell the need, not the lead. And what I mean by that is they're collecting information on the consumer. Oh, why is it that you want a car with? What are you? This car's third row seats. What is it about third row seats? Or do you need third row seats? They're collecting that secondary information on the consumer, and that's what they're using to sell them day 4 to 30. Not come in for an appointment. So when I look at that, that's again like an opportunity for dealers to say, are we collecting the right information to sell the need, not the lead? And that's where I think you start to unlock real close rate improvements. Right now, salespeople, you're relying on their memory. They're not transcribing information correctly. This person has 200 leads, can't track that well. We see that in the data. I could go in and tell you a salesperson who's got really good memory, and they tend, when pick up the phone, call them, they tend to have a secondary system. They're writing notes down next to them. They're doing something. Yeah.
Close the need, not the lead. And they're taking insights, by the way, with your plumbing that you're offering to bring to dealers through different sources, but just aggregate them into one place. So, all right, final question for you today, and then we got to jump. What's the easiest, quickest wins dealers could execute on today to improve their digital lead performance, their digital presence between now and the end of the year so we close 2025 strong?
Oh, man.
One thing.
Look at your batting. If you had to close your month, batting order is usually the number one thing. If you're off on batting order, you have a really easy fix that's hiding in plain sight. So not all dealers are off on that, but if you are off, that's like easy win, easy fix. You just need to see it.
Batting order, study it, understand it, and be open to it not being the number one guy that gets twice the leads of everyone else, right? So, David Steinberg, CEO and founder of Foureyes, thanks for being on the show. We look forward to seeing you at NADA to see your product unveil. So,
and I'm looking forward to Yuli hearing his singing voice here coming up real soon. So
that's right.
Thank you guys so much, Sam. Yuli, thank you.
Looking forward to
episode. Yeah. Thank you.
We'll see you.
That's fun. A lot of good comments, too, online. Steve Smith says there needs to be a central data lake where a unified customer data lives and data flows inoperably between the lake owned by the dealer and the vendors the dealer chooses. And I think I see that, and I think it's a challenge. Oh, and the vendors dealer chooses to work with CDP is not the right answer. Agreed. I believe it starts with and then we lost the last part of that, but there was better parts to that. But it's interesting. This next era in automotive is going to be about data and customer information unlike it's ever been before, and who can get to it first and who can utilize it and capitalize on it the best to deliver the best customer experience, which is pretty cool. So, all right. Hey, by the way, how many more episodes do we have with your mustache, Yuli?
That would be 2, I think.
All right. You're almost there to the end. So, all right, well, let's transition over to Director of Corporate Security at the Swickard Auto Group, Robert Woolsey. Welcome to the show, Robert.
Thanks for having me.
Robert, welcome. You also have a very strong mustache as well as everything else.
I've been working on this. This was a no shave thing last year, and it just has not gone away.
Stuck.
So.
That's a good look. Well, Robert, thanks for joining the show. We got to ask you our signature question, how's biz? And as you do, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for the org.
Sure. Business is really good for Swickard. We've had a really good year. It's a great team. We've done a lot of rebuilding and brought in some really strong GMs and platform directors across that have really helped to kind of build that OEM and guess kind of first focus that we've got. I work on the corporate security team. Part of my job is to oversee both our physical, our information security, and all of our technology. And so coming into the group, one of the things we really wanted to look at was some of the things that plague all of the dealer groups, right? Fraud, risk, those sort of issues that kind of impact the overall profitability. And in many cases, we've even seen when we're talking about technology during this issue of the daily dealer, right? How does that impact even our customer data, right? And looking at things like PII and red flag stuff. And so we really focused on developing an entirely fleshed out program within the auto group here to kind of focus on some of those really heavy risk things and kind of limit our exposure and how we're doing criminal loss and impacting our customers.
What's the number one area where people are trying to steal your stuff? And I want to ask that because I want to compare your answer with our answer at the Ziegler Auto Group, who, by the way, we have a head of security, not a lot of groups do, former police chief, and she is awesome. You and she would have a great conversation together. But what's the biggest area today in November where people are trying to take your stuff?
It used to be physical, right? They used to try and steal cars and used to try and steal, tires and those sort of things. Now it's turned into information. One of the biggest hits we're seeing, and biggest issue we're dealing with is information, right? Phishing, smishing, a lot of impersonation attempts. And really on the risk side, looking at, are we getting hit with fraud when it comes to information, right? Is this really the person that's supposed to be sitting in front of us? Are we making sure that we're doing our red flags checks and making sure that all of the documents that they're providing us are accurate and true to the person? That's really where we're seeing a lot of difficulty within kind of the group in general here. But we're seeing it across, right? CDK just came out recently with, hey, fraud and risk are up really high now, and dealers have to pay attention to, are you checking those licenses to make sure that's the right person? Are you checking the bank information is correct? And so that's really where we're seeing a lot of the risk and a lot of our kind of asset management focus.
Is there a tool or two that is helping you in store between your retail stores, your employees, your finance manager, salespeople, and that end consumer to identify fraud and theft?
We are. I mean, we're working on a lot of like PCI compliance things. We work with places like WorldPay to make sure that all of the banking information is being transferred appropriately. We're doing a better job at encrypting a lot of our stuff from end to end to make sure that, we're not sending it through. There was a time, thankfully years ago, where people would send, banking information through email, right? Completely, risky for, companies. And so we've done over the last 3 years a really good job working with even our partners at Reynolds to make sure that we're verifying at the dealer desk, right? F&I is monitoring and making sure that they're using things like DocuPad to verify, hey, is all the information correct when the customer comes in? Is this really the right person? And as we've noticed with everything, right? You guys even know this, kind of the weakest link is the end user. So we make sure that our salespeople, our finance people, our F&I folks understand what are the red flags look like, right? What are you supposed to be looking for when documents come across your desk? And really, they've been very helpful with raising the red flag. Hey, we have an issue. We're not going to sell to this person or to this group. And part of that has helped us really kind of tighten up some of that fraud that we're seeing within our group.
So did you have to change culturally Automotive a little bit to get that, to get people along? Because, what I think about, you have a history. You were with a Las Vegas sports team in corporate security. You were with a casino in corporate security. There are movies made about people that have done what you've done. And in Automotive, the movie that is made is we want to hope and believe that customer not only can buy one car or two cars and three cars. And sometimes in Automotive, we make bad decisions on hope rather than reality. And it is a little bit of a shift getting everyone on board to say, I'm looking for a flag. And even though I don't know this for sure, I'm going to investigate more than less. What does that cultural shift look like for you? And how have you done that to get people to be more aware of red flags?
So one of the things that really was interesting to me was getting ownership and having people really kind of buy into, even though it's a larger group, each one of those locations is theirs to own, right? And really working with them to understand how the process works and really be better about how to manage that. I mean, we want to make sure that we're presenting the least amount of risk to the stores as possible. And coming in here, we like many other auto groups, focus very heavily on external assistance and external vendors when it came to security and dealing with our risk. And it didn't really make it so there was a lot of ownership. We decided, and you understand this, the only people that really care about your business and care about your customers are you, right?
Yeah.
And so while, yes, we're paying lots of money to hopefully have other groups and other businesses come in and say, hey, we're going to help protect you and your business and your assets, it's really incumbent upon you. And we've really gone out and sought out general managers and service professionals and sales professionals who really understand that this is their responsibility. And building that culture of safety and security has been a really big thing for us. I mean, we support them at the corporate level every single day. But it's been amazing over the last 3 years to see the transition of, well, this isn't mine. I don't know what to do with it. I'm not going to do anything with it. Or, hey, it's not my asset. It's not my responsibility to, this is theirs and they own it. And they will contact us immediately. We'll have, F&I managers that'll review a document and go, this just does not look right. Doesn't smell right, doesn't look right, and we'll escalate immediately. And we've seen a just complete culture shift here where, every deal, every person, every single interaction at the store level, they're the front lines and they're doing everything they can to make sure that we as a company are more secure.
So as the GMs own it, they own their world. I love that, by the way. We believe in that fully, wholeheartedly. You mentioned people identifying a red flag, notifying you. What does that life cycle look like? How do you go from that first red flag to notification to an investigation? And then how do you become involved? And, as a takeaway for dealer groups that maybe don't have a head of corporate security, things that they could implement, how does it work in your world?
So we've created kind of a high-level playbook for fraudulent requests. And if an issue comes up at a store level, we typically understand that we want to buy back a car from a bank. We want to repossess a vehicle. We don't want to, I think you had said earlier, like repossess a dream, right, or a thought. We go out there, we really want to make sure that, hey, is the documents that we presented, were they fraudulent? Was the deal good or bad? We look at the deal jacket, and at the store level, they kind of make a very quick judgment call of this just doesn't look or smell right. They immediately let us know. They file a report system that we have internally. And we built it through actual Automotive, where they can go in and put all the information in there, and it automatically starts to alert all the people that need to be involved. And when I say that, it's the general sales manager, it's our CFO, it is on the corporate security team. We have an internal investigator that her entire job is to look at fraud deals, and she starts to review and see, okay, where does this fall within the hierarchy of what we need to do? Do we need to involve additional risk management folks? Is this going to become a insurance related matter? Do we need to contact law enforcement? And so that clock starts immediately at the store level. They're very, very good. And like I said, I mean, we have a whole fleshed out kind of plan, but it talks about the automatic routing, who it needs to go to, who on the risk management team or who on the security team, and then who starts to make those notifications, whether it be to law enforcement, hey, we have a stolen vehicle, whether it be to the bank, hey, we just want to let you know, the OEMs, potentially if it's through their internal financing. And so we figure out who the points of decision are and who those authority members are, and then we start the process to guide it all the way through. Now, what that's been good for us is it's allowed us to really kind of partner better with our OEM partners and with our banking partners to make sure that we're staying responsive to them. But also, it's allowed them to have a recourse to come back to us and go, okay, hey, here's all the documentation. Here's all the things that you need in order for you guys to be successful to repossess that vehicle and get it back onto your lot. I think, one of the reasons that I was contacted to even come on here was how quickly we were able to kind of track down and get our resources and our assets back. That has really made the difference for us to be able to have an actual playbook for us to follow, to say within 24, 48 hours, we've now found our vehicle. We've now identified what the issues are. We've now contacted the bank, and we've worked as a partner to make sure that the bank is made whole, we're made whole, and we're able to bring the whole thing to a really kind of helpful resolution for us. So, it's really about kind of the pre-planning and making sure that every member of our team, from the the salesperson at the store all the way through the corporate investigator, understands, hey, here's what's happened in real time. Here's how quickly we've been able to get the information out and be able to kind of get our stuff back.
So you've got a thorough plan for red flag, for notification, for investigation, and be able to bring people in to get these assets back. Is there a tool that you use for tracking? At our group, we use LoJack. It's a GPS device. There's a bunch of different products out there. Is there one that you found works better to keep track of your assets?
So it all depends. We leverage a couple of different things that we started off with our loaner cars. Obviously, Companies like, Dealerware and Logitrack have been very helpful, but we also utilize the OEM, and we partner with the OEMs to utilize their internal GPS systems to be able to track our vehicles in real time. Obviously, once we know a fraud vehicle is hit, that vehicle is still technically ours. And because we own that asset, we are able to track that asset in real time. And it's been interesting because we have been able to track that asset. I mean, all the way to ports of entry. We've been able to track that asset to other states. We had one in Seattle that it took 2 weeks for us to realize, and we found it in New Jersey. I mean, so to go from Washington, New Jersey, and be able to track that, we work very closely with, Homeland Security. We work closely with our law enforcement partners. It's been we've really kind of fleshed out a plan on how to make this work and really kind of dial into what resources are out there that maybe we haven't been utilizing.
So what would you say to a dealer that says, hey, I've tried tracking through the OEM, but it's so hard to get a hold of someone to be able to initiate that track? Customers, one thing that gets tough because then there's privacy, but even for your own inventory, some OEMs make it tough. What would you say to that? How have you gotten around that?
We partner with, as I said, companies like Dealerware and Logitrack who really do have some of those internal conversations with the OEMs. We do have a very strong relationship with our OEM partners, and the reason we've done that is we've really taken some of their initiatives seriously. And I can tell you, when CDK ran into their issues, and some of our partners here locally, because of our corporate office in Las Vegas, have run into some of their issues when it comes to cybersecurity initiatives, we've worked very closely with the OEMs to be ahead of the curve on that. And thankfully, it's been part of kind of my purview as well to really build that up. But that's helped to knock down some of the walls with those OEM partners to be able to say, hey, we're willing to be early adopters on things, but we need your help. We need you really to kind of work with us in our business on some of the other initiatives that we're looking at. And that's been really helpful. Partners like Toyota, Mercedes-Benz, BMW have been really at the forefront of, what we really want to be helpful. We work with OnStar, right, with the GM products to make sure that those are real-time tracking. And they've been very quick to, verify, and they cut down some of the red tape. I mean, I came from a law enforcement background where it was not so easy even. Once we knew a vehicle was stolen, to be able to work with those
That's
partners.
what I'm talking about. Like, it's tough to get information from some of these
even from the law
providers.
enforcement side, it's been difficult, but we've been able to really kind of show how we're good partners to the OEMs and to some of the banks. And the banks have even been good about saying, look, even though we know we're the owners of that vehicle, right? We've taken ownership by financing that vehicle. They work with us as well to be able to release some of that information to make it a little bit easier for us to get that data in real time.
All right, last two questions. One's serious, one's tongue-in-cheek. Yoga Car says, what kind of cars do you see most typically stolen? High-end or what? What do you see the biggest instances of physical theft?
Sports cars. Hellcats have been a traditional pain.
Crazy.
For us, it is insane. We can't keep a Hellcat on the lot more than 24 hours. And so we've had to be really good about that. I don't really see. I'm going to jinx us. We have not had a stolen vehicle in probably a year and a half to 2 years. We got hit with Hellcats almost. I think the last one we had was out of Oakland. We had a Hellcat that they brought in. They were still getting it reconditioned. The person cut through the fence, took the vehicle, stole the vehicle. It was insanity. But we're seeing if it's a hot sports vehicle, those are the ones that we're seeing a lot of eyes on. And like I said, the Hellcat is a traditional vehicle that we will always see being taken off our lot in real time. It is insanity to us. But those are the ones we typically see go.
All right. Well, that's a good answer. And then now for the tongue-in-cheek one, you worked for a Vegas casino at one point. I think if I did my background research right, if you're going to try to count cards, what's the best game and what's the penalty if you get away with it?
I'd love to be able to tell you that. That is a closely monitored
trade secret.
I don't know if my NDA with them is up yet, so I can't really talk about that. But
when we go to NADA, I'm going to sit at the table with you. That's the deal there. So.
Sounds fantastic.
All right.
Well, let's go. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Robert Woolsey, Director of Corporate Security. Oh my goodness, that was a tongue twister. Director of Corporate Security at Swickard Auto Group. Thanks for joining the show, sharing your perspectives on all things security. Thanks so
much. I appreciate you guys having me. See you guys soon.
I mean, you see those movies and you're like, which one would I try it on? Is it blackjack? Is it actually? I think Do you know you can actually play War on the casino floor in Vegas? War? Do you
No, I
remember the
didn't know
game
that.
War?
I do remember War. Yeah.
You just put 2 cards down, and whoever
Yeah.
has the highest card wins. Like
Yeah.
that's crazy. But his world, does he not sound like a pilot or a cop?
Definitely.
So he heads their flight ops, and he also heads their security. And he sounds a lot like our head of corporate security. They're all the same, and we love them because they help us keep our stuff from getting stolen. So, all right, Yuli, well, we get to see your mustache next time on Wednesday. So to everybody watching Daily Dealer Live, thank you for watching Daily Dealer Live, where we break down the biggest moves in the car business as they happen. Don't forget, we're here live every Monday. We'll be back Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern and Friday. So if this is your world, hit like, hit subscribe, turn on those notifications so you never, ever miss a beat. And we'll see you next episode. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.